Honourable Datuk Sri Peter Chin Fakui, Minister of Energy, Water and Green Technology of Malaysia, Tan Sri Rafida Aziz, Honourable Patron of the Malaysia-Europe Forum, Mr. Swarab Roy, Chief Executive Officer of ASEAN Affairs, distinguished guests, Excellencies, particularly ambassadors of the EU member states present here, ladies and gentlemen, Selamat Tanggahari, good afternoon. I'm very grateful for the invitation I received from ASEAN Affairs to speak at this meeting. It's a great honour to be sharing this platform with the Minister and with Tan Sri Rafida. So freshly back after my summer leave in Europe. This morning when I came into the office, some of my staff members commented to me that I had got a slight tan, and compared to the photograph that is in the programme book, which was taken in Malaysia, that's indeed true. You can see that, and it provides me with a wonderful opportunity to give objective evidence that most of my time in Malaysia I spent indoor in the meeting room and in the office. So thank you for that. It's a great pleasure to be here, but of course one should say that speaking at a conference about climate change, the pleasure is mixed. Not because of the great turnout that we're seeing at this meeting, which is very, very encouraging, but because of the fact that climate change is real. Scientists from around the world are providing more and more reliable evidence of climate change. Regardless of email-gate, that is a fact. As recently as last week, a comprehensive review of key climate indicators reconfirmed once again that the world is indeed warming up. We have to understand that the effects of climate change could be devastating. If we continue to sit on our hands, it will reach dangerous levels already within the lifetime of our children. And to prevent climate change from getting out of control, we have to drastically cut greenhouse gas emissions by building a low-carbon global economy based on green growth. And for that, we need a global agreement, because a global agreement on climate change mitigation and adaptation will provide a clear policy framework that will help business in making investment decisions. It provides incentives and the long-term signals that investors need. It all sounds very, very simple, put like that. We know exactly what to do, but how do we get about actually achieving all of this? Now, within the European Union, we have taken a stand to fight the negative effects of climate change through the decarbonisation of our economy. And I can say without any hesitation that together with economic recovery, together with economic development, the climate and environmental matters are at the top of our political and policy agenda. The European Union has set a unilateral, legally binding agreement of a target of 20% emissions in carbons by 2020, compared to the 1990 levels. This target is part of our climate and energy policy, and it's part of the package that we call the 2020 targets. And these include not only the 20% reduction in CO2 emissions, but also, this is the second, the 20% share of renewable fuels in our energy mix, and thirdly, a 20% increase in energy efficiency. And I should add that within the 20% target for renewables, there is also a sub-target, namely that of 10% biofuels in the transport sector. Last June, the European Union adopted a new economic strategy for the coming decade. It's called the Europe 2020 strategy. It sounds very familiar in this country, which also has its 2020 vision. And that strategy for the coming 10 years very much focuses on the creation of jobs and of the smart, sustainable, inclusive and resource-efficient economy. But whatever the EU does will come to nothing if it is not embedded in a global effort. And the EU is therefore convinced that the only way to effectively counter the effects of climate change is in multilateral, comprehensive cooperation and participation, involving the developed and developing countries alike. We all have a role to play here and a share to contribute. Now, of course, everybody hoped that last December the Copenhagen COP would deliver a global agreement on climate change, but we have to face the facts, it did not. Copenhagen was not the success that we all wanted, but yet we feel that Copenhagen does represent some progress nevertheless. First, the industrialized and developing countries alike have accepted for the first time in history that they share a joint responsibility for keeping global warming below 2% Celsius in order to avert the worst impacts. Secondly, the Copenhagen Accord has prompted at the present moment 75 countries to notify their emission reduction targets and to notify their actions to limit and reduce their emissions. Thirdly, the industrialized world has put its first money on the table to help developing countries combat climate change. Nearly $30 billion in finance was committed for the next 3 years on how to verify the result of climate actions. And equally, it provides guidance on years, what we call the fast start finance. And for the longer term, $100 billion per year by 2020. The European Union has committed to €2.5 billion, roughly 10 billion ringgit, of fast start finance for the developing countries over the coming 3 years. And this is almost a third of all the money. The role of deforestation pledged. And finally, the result of Copenhagen Accord is that it provides important political guidance for the ongoing negotiations, particularly on how to measure climate actions, how to report on this, and how to verify the result of climate actions. And equally, it provides guidance on the role of deforestation in reducing emissions. Now, where do we stand right now? First of all, one should note that Copenhagen has helped keep climate change at the top of the political agenda, even in a time of economic crisis, particularly in Europe and North America. At the same time, there's still a very long way to go to reach the strong, comprehensive and legally binding global deal that remains our ultimate objective. Now, the latest developments, and I particularly then refer to the delay in adoption of climate legislation in the United States, show that even with the commitment of the EU and a number of other partners to reach a global deal in Cancun, that objective seems a little bit ambitious at this point in time. There is indeed now a growing consensus that in the absence of an all-in-one solution, as we try to obtain in Copenhagen, the international community now needs to move in steps towards a later global deal. And this means that the Cancun conference should produce a time frame for countries to set and implement their mitigation action plans. Also, it should produce further decisions on measuring, reporting and verification of climate action. It should provide guidance on adaptation and technology, and on reducing the emissions from